Let's talk week 4 sleepers and 2-start pitchers up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Friday, April 11th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's preview week 4 of the fantasy baseball season. And up first, we have the schedule, 20 teams with 6 games. There are 10 teams with 7 games. The Nationals, Rays, Cardinals, Giants, Royals, Tigers, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, and the Pirates. What about the Rockies for next week? They have 3 games in Coors Field against the Nationals, and then 3 on the road at the Dodgers. Starters sit these fringe 2-start pitchers, and I think most weeks you just start Ryan Pepiot, Scott, but he is home against the Red Sox and Yankees next week.
Yeah, so the matchups are tough. Even more than that, I don't like that he's home. It's going to be a homer-friendly environment. We saw him give up 3 home runs there in his last start. Fly ball pitcher is Ryan Pepiot. So it's not a slam dunk, but I still lean yes. I still have him as the top player in the advisable section of the 2-start pitcher rankings.
Clay Holmes has been a mixed bag thus far. He is at the Twins and home against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it has been a mixed bag, but Clay Holmes has looked a little better each time out, I would say. And I hope that trend continues here for a 2-start week. I know the Cardinals offense is off to a pretty good start, but same personnel as last year, basically. And the Twins have really struggled. So I see those as pretty good matchups for Clay Holmes, and I would lean yes on him.
What about Yusei Kikuchi at the Rangers and home against the Giants?
So as Chris Towers recently pointed out on the Full Length podcast, Kikuchi's arm slot is different this year. It's lower, and that might explain why he hasn't been as effective. And I don't know how long it's going to take him to regain that, or if he's doing it on purpose, or if it's even on his radar. I can't say. So it is kind of risky to start him, especially with 2 starts. But I don't think we're at a point where we're considering dropping Kikuchi. He hasn't been that bad. And obviously we had high hopes for him coming in. So I think in most cases, with him lining up for 2 starts, you're just going to run him out there. Hope you get double-digit strikeouts and maybe a win out of it.
All right, what about Tanner Houck, who is at the Rays and home against the White Sox?
Love those matchups for Houck. Don't have a lot of confidence in him. The first half last year where the walks were way down and the strikeouts were way up, it's been a long time since we've seen that version of Houck. Second half was way different. Early this year's not looking like that either. So I'm leaving Houck for points leagues.
And Merrill Kelly, who is at the Marlins and at the Cubs next week.
Don't trust him at all. Not bad matchups, but just don't trust him. I mean, the Cubs matchup, I guess, is pretty tough, but the Marlins matchup is good. Don't trust Kelly, though.
All right. What about the 2-star pitchers that you are looking to add and stream for next week under 80% roster?
Yeah. So let's start with Jeffrey Springs, who gets the White Sox and the Brewers, and velocity's been trending up for him. He's looked pretty good for the most part. So I would definitely run Springs out there for those 2 starts. Grant Holmes has been limited in his 2 starts, has yet to give you go deep enough for a win, but the strikeouts have looked good. At Toronto versus Minnesota, I'd start Grant Holmes. Tyler McGill gets the Twins and Cardinals, same matchups as Clay Holmes, and I think those are solid enough matchups. I'm not as confident Tyler McGill's actually going to get a second start because the Mets have 7 games, and he's scheduled to go Tuesday and Sunday. A lot of times with a week like that, a team will insert an extra starter and maybe push McGill out of the second one. But in theory, he's going to make 2 starts. Mitch Keller, we're living dangerously this week with Mitch Keller, who, I mean, just look at his game log for this year. 2 excellent starts and 1 disastrous one. You never know what you're going to get from Keller. But the matchups are good, Nationals and Guardians, and you hope for 2 good starts from him. Maybe you don't risk it in a Roto League, but I might still do it in a Roto League, definitely in a points league. Landon Roop of the Giants gets the Phillies and the Angels. So the matchups could be better, but he has shown some good strikeout potential. early on and has relief pitcher eligibility, which helps in points leagues. It's probably just a points league recommendation, Landon Roop, but it's a recommendation nonetheless. So those are the 2-star pitchers. A few 1-star options for you. We got Tomoyuki Sugano against the Guardians. And then 3 pitchers against the White Sox. J.P. Sears, Richard Fitz, and Osvaldo Bido.
All right, let's slide over to the hitters. And we have the best hitter matchups for next week. The Pirates, Nationals, Rays, Dodgers, and Athletics. The worst hitter matchups, Blue Jays, Orioles, Cubs, Brewers, and the Rangers. With that said, who are your sleeper hitters for week 4?
My number 1 is Kyle Manzardo, who has cooled off a little, but I am surprised he's still out there on a third of CBS Sports leagues. The Guardians matchups are pretty good. And the toughest pitcher, well, he's facing Paul Skeens one game this week, but then the second toughest is Tomoyuki Sugano. So a lot of weak pitchers otherwise. And only one left-hander on the schedule, which maybe doesn't matter in Manzardo's case anymore, as good as he's looked against lefties so far, but it can't hurt. That's mostly righties. It does clearly make a difference for Michael Conforto because sometimes he sits against left-handers, but only one lefty on the schedule for the Dodgers this week. It's Patrick Corbin. So Conforto is very likely to start against him and very likely to perform against him. And meanwhile, the Dodgers also have a series against the Rockies pitching staff. Conforto's looked good when he's played. I know the batting average is lagging, but I think he's going to be fine. And I like the matchups this week. Jacob Wilson, you mentioned the Athletics have the 5th best hitter matchups. And they begin with a series against the White Sox pitching staff and end the week with a series against the Brewers beat up pitching staff. So I think Wilson is a good bet to maintain the high batting average he's delivered so far. I like Nathaniel Lowe for this week with the Nationals having the 2nd best hitter matchups, including a series at Coors Field. Obviously, the Rockies themselves get that series at Coors Field too. Michael Toglia, who just had a 3-hit game Thursday. Hopefully he's coming awake. I'd consider using him. Hunter Goodman as a catcher-eligible player. He's playing every day. Good power potential. Not a bad time to try him out. And then some highly available options here. They're all available in at least 70% of CBS Sports leagues. Jake Mangum is off to a good start for the Rays, stealing a lot of bases. They have the 3rd best hitter matchups. Don't trust the profile long-term, but not a bad time to use Jake Mangum. Andy Pajes, I like him to take advantage of the Dodgers matchups this week, just like Conforto. He's homered a couple times here recently. Max Kepler hasn't really gotten rolling yet, but playing regularly for the Phillies, walking a lot in a deep lineup, and they play 7 games, only one left-hander on the schedule. And finally, Ke'Bryan Hayes. Wanted to pick one Pirate here to take advantage of those most favorable hitter matchups. He's been hitting the ball hard early on, and beginning to steal bases again, has 2 of them already. Ke'Bryan Hayes if you need corner and field help.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.